What's going on, everyone? It's me, Lone, and let's talk about mutations in Fallout 76. In my Power Armor Heavy Gunner build video, I mentioned that I wasn't going to mutate my character at all. I was going to keep it clean, not attract any mutations, and just play the game that way. But it's all kind of changed because I've been sleeping on mutations for too long in Fallout 76. They're really, really, really good if you have the right build set up. And I want to show you in this video the mutations that I actually have now on my character in combination with my Power Armor and Heavy Gunner builds. I've had to change some things, equip some new perk cards. Those of you that know all about mutations, you know the perk cards that I got. So I want to show you all the mutations, all my perk cards now that I have, because in fact, my Heavy Gunner build is complete in the game. I'm exactly where I want to be. So let's jump into the game. I'll show you my mutations, and then later on in the video, I'll talk about some other mutations that are there that I think might help you if you're looking at mutations, because these are very specific to my character. This is not a general guide for all mutations. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so we are in my camp in 76. I'm wearing the Plague Rider Power Armor skin. One, because it looks awesome, and two, it makes my character look mutated, so I think it fits this video very well. And I want to thank Chimmy for providing me the thumbnail photo for this video. I think it looks absolutely awesome. He took a better photo than I ever could, so thank you to Chimmy. Now, my journey with mutations, if you will, started off with me getting the marsupial mutation. Some very kind person on the internet provided me with the marsupial serum. And if you don't know what a serum is, essentially it provides you a mutation, a guaranteed mutation of the same name. So if you take the marsupial serum, you get the marsupial mutation. This is a more of a guaranteed method of getting the mutations that you want versus, you know, just getting radiated and trying to get random mutations until you get the ones you want. So when you have a really good mutation, it might just be better off for you to not risk getting another mutation and just trying to get serums off people, whether it's buying them from the Enclave bunker. They're expensive there though, so you might as well buy it from a trader in the game. People usually sell serums for like 500 caps around there. So that's a really, really good way to get serums in the game. So I got the marsupial serum and I was like, all right, what other mutations can I get? If I really want to build a mutated character, I want to go all out and not just do one mutation. So I got a couple, okay? And you'll notice by me jumping, for those of you that know what to look for, that I have another one in hand. So let's go to my Pip-Boy. And this is where you can see all the mutations. So when it comes to mutations, you have some positive effects and negative effects. But there are perk cards that you can equip to boost the positives and to reduce the negatives. And they're almost needed if you want to have a mutated build. So as I mentioned, I got marsupial, which means I have one less intelligence, but I get increased carry weight and a higher jump height. So it's significantly higher. I could take a Rad-X to show you the difference, but that means I lose my mutations for a little bit. So it is significantly higher. It makes it much easier to like navigate the cranberry bog and to get the higher you know, levels and structures and stuff. So it's a really fun mutation to have. And then I got a couple of other ones. So when you have marsupial, bird bones is usually a fun idea because one, it increases your agility, but two, it reduces your fall speed. So you'll see I'm falling very slowly, and that might not mean much to you, but if you think about it, for me, when I'm in Power Armor, the chances of me doing the superhero landing are reduced significantly when I fall slowly with bird bones. It means I'm not taken out of the battle for 2-3 seconds in that superhero landing pose because I've jumped too high, for instance, right? Usually when you jump just normally like this without bird bones in Power Armor, it doesn't do it. But any kind of elevated surface that you jump off of, you'll get the superhero landing and it'll take you out of combat for a little bit. So I didn't want that, right? Now, obviously the drawback is less strength, but I'll get to that point when I talk about the perk cards. Then I also have healing factor. I have a vampiric build, so this wasn't too important for me, but what it does, it reduces the effects of chems, but it gives you plus 300% health regen out of combat. The reason why I still got this is because when I'm in a nuke zone and I'm not actually in combat and I'm getting irradiated, all I need to do when I'm not in combat is take a rat away and I'll just regenerate health. Instead of having to take a stim pack at that stage, all I need to do is just use the Radaway. So it means I have more stim packs that I can use to sell for caps. I have a lot of stim packs, and that's one of my main methods of getting caps, especially with a vampiric build. So this just added to that, which is why I really loved it. Herbivore, it means you can eat veggies but not meat with no disease and ×2 benefits. You'll notice in my camp, I grow a lot of veggies, all right? They're kind of like in a perfect line as well. And that's my main source of food. When I come to my camp, I'll get a bunch of these. I have green thumb on, so I get double the yield. And then I don't need to eat much actually to get full. And also as well, it means I don't get diseases from eating veggies, which I do eat a lot of. So that's just an added benefit, right? I really, really enjoy that. It obviously means that I can't eat meat, doesn't provide me with any sustenance, but I don't really eat meat. I eat veggies in the game, so herbivore is a great one for me. I've mentioned marsupial. Scaly skin. It provides you +50 energy resist and +50 damage resistance. This is really good for obvious reasons. It gives you much more resistance when it comes to damage and energy. But for me, it only reduces AP by a certain amount. That's not the full amount there. I have a perk card equipped. I'll mention that later. But I don't use VATS in my build. So why do I need as much AP when it comes to just, firing from the hip with a heavy gun or aiming down the sight? This was a great mutation for me. So that's why I have Scaly Skin. And Speed Demon. Your reload speed is increased and your move speed is increased, but your hunger and thirst also increase while you move. That hunger and thirst thing is fine for me because, again, look at all these veggies and I have 3 large water purifiers. So I have more water than I know what to do with, right? I've got 5 there, 5 there, 5 there. So on my character right now, I have about 54 water. I also sell those for caps as well, which is why it's good to have large water purifiers in your camp. But it also means that I don't have to worry about that downside when it comes to Speed Demon. But it means 1, I move faster, which is great, but 2, the reload speed with my heavy guns is so much better. And I'm going to show you some combat in a second to show you all of these mutations in effect, but mostly show you Speed Demon because it's very, very significant. And then later on in the video, I'll go through other mutations. So I think that covers it. I talked about bird bones, healing factor, etc. Let's get into some combat and I'll show you this build in action. But before we do that, I'll also show you what kind of perk cards I have. So let's do it. Okay, so we're at Foundation now. And before we get to where I want to go, which is just nearby at Forward Station Delta, it has a bunch of Scorched Beasts, a bunch of Scorched. It's going to show off my build in way, way more depth and actually show you it in action. But let's go to my perks. Now, I mentioned before that my build is pretty much done. This is my build that I'm very, very, very happy with. And I'm going to run through it very quickly and we'll talk about the mutation perks. So, I have all the heavy gunner perks, gives me more heavy gunner damage, that's obvious. Lock and load makes my heavy guns reload faster, which stacks upon the faster reload with the mutation. So keep that in mind, right? So if I didn't have that, my reload would be fast, but just not as fast. So this is great with heavy weapons. I highly, highly recommend it. Traveling Pharmacy, it reduces the weight on my chems. I have a lot of chems, as you can see. I have like 224 stim packs, not as much Radaway, but I have more normal Radaway. But I keep a lot of these because I sell them for caps, and it's great. I could set up a vendor at my camp if I wanted to and sell them for caps. So that is really important for me more than the Junk Rat, for instance, or any other carry weight helping perk cards like Strong Back. So that's why Strength is at 15 with all those perk cards. Green Thumb is at 1. I get twice as much Flora when I harvest. It's great. There were no other perk cards that were helpful for me with my build and perception, so that's only at 1. Endurance is at 4 because Life Giver, I like having that extra tankiness when it comes to my health. Plus 45 maximum health. It's really great, especially when I'm taking on really big enemies. Like even with a vampiric build, they can take so much of your health, and one shot, if I'm not careful, it could take me down if I already have low health, for instance. So having that extra tankiness is really good. Charisma. Now, I have Inspirational on now. Now that I've finished my build, I might not need this anymore. I've got most of the perk cards that I want, so I don't need to level up as fast anymore. So I might reduce this Charisma, that is, by 3, and then I might add it to another area, maybe to Luck, because then I can get 1 gun army, and that's a great heavy gunner perk card. So I'm still thinking about that, but Inspirational is there for now because I needed all the perk cards and I needed to level up fast. Now, we've got Tenderizer. Your target receives more damage for 10 seconds after you attack. It's a great little boost in damage, which is why I like it. Travel Agent, cheaper to fast travel. That's a great one. Strange in Numbers. This is the first mutation perk card I wanted to mention. Your positive mutation effects are plus 25% stronger if your teammates are mutated too. So when you're in a team and your teammates are mutated, all of these positive benefits are increased by plus 25%, which means when it comes to like my reload speed, it's even faster. When it comes to my health regen, it's even better. Things like that. So I think that's an absolute necessity, especially if you play in a team a lot and you are mutated, so as well as your teammates as well. Maybe you don't need it obviously you don't need it when you're playing solo, but it's a good perk card to have nonetheless. Intelligence is at 15 for a number of reasons. Fusion core duration is now doubled. I use power armor all the time. I use a Gatling laser all the time. That increases my ammo capacity by 2 times. So I have 1,000 Gatling laser bullets in each fusion core, which is awesome. And then obviously I can use power armor all the time without having to worry about fusion cores because they last me so long now. Stabilized. It increases the accuracy of your heavy guns and you ignore 45% of armor. That's a no-brainer. If you use heavy guns, absolutely have stabilized. They're not that good at accuracy, so this helps it a lot. Batteries included. I have a lot of fusion cores, not as much now, but I've used a lot of them. They weigh 90% less. Any energy ammo weighs 90% less. So if you have plasma cores as well, which is what I do, and I'll show you that later, those weigh 90% less too. So that's fundamental to my build. Power Patcher, I just like my power armor breaking a little bit slower, so that's why that's there. And Gunsmith. Guns, especially heavy guns, break really, really fast sometimes, especially if that's all you use and they're constantly firing. So having guns break half as slow is crucial, so crucial. If you're using heavy guns, let alone any automatic guns build that is, you need Gunsmith. In agility, I have adrenaline, so I get plus 10% damage, max 60% for 30 seconds per kill. So when you have a bunch of enemies that you're mowing down, that stacks really fast and you end up dealing a lot of damage. Now let's go to luck. So luck, bloody mess, an increase to your damage of 15%. That's a no-brainer. Here are some more mutation perk cards. So you've got, first of all, Starch Genes. You need this if you want a mutated build. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because what happens if you don't have starch genes maxed out? If you take a rat away, you can lose your mutations. And if you go into a radiated area, you can gain mutations that you don't want. So this prevents all of that. It's absolutely fundamental. You need starch genes with a mutated build. And then Class Freak. This is one you can have equipped at all times. It actually reduces the negative effects of your mutations by 75%. So all of these negative effects here, whether it's reducing my intelligence, whether it's, with bird bones reducing my strength, which reduces my carry weight, it makes so that those negative effects are 75% less bad, or it reduces those negative effects by 75%. You know what I mean, right? Fundamental. You need that with a mutation build. So those are the 3 perk cards, whether it's Class Freak, Starch Genes, and Strange in Numbers. You need those if you want to become mutated. So let's show off this build, finally, in the flesh. Alrighty, so we are here at the location. Let me show you this build in action. This is currently a 2-shot Gatling Plasma, by the way, with increased damage when you aim. So let's do this. This is not my vampiric gun, but I just wanted to show you this build in action a little bit. It just flew. Oh, there we go. So I got to make sure that I actually stim pack without a vampiric. But it takes out things pretty quickly, which is what I enjoy. Yes, this is a 2-shot gun. It does make it a little bit easier, but this build is now completely optimized for me, which is what I really, really enjoy. Especially when the Scorch Beasts actually fall and they don't keep flying. It's obviously a bit harder to take them out, especially with this one as a legendary. I'm going to see if I can make this one land and show you it in action. But I did want to promise as well that I showed you the reload speed of this Gatling Plasma. So let me take some shots on it, and then I will reload. I'm currently using a gamepad at the moment, by the way. I know I'm not aiming, but I'm just getting rid of my clip. All right, reload. Done. Back in action. It's incredibly fast with lock and load and that mutation active. So now I don't really have to worry when I'm using a heavy gun of having a very slow reload, which is typically the downside of heavy guns. So I think I'm really happy with where this build is now. In fact, so much that I probably just want to reduce my charisma perk now and not worry about leveling up now, or my charisma special, and not worrying about leveling up, because I reckon there's another perk card like, for instance, One Gun Army, which is really effective at staggering and crippling Scorch Beasts. So I'll probably do that next. I'll make sure that I get rid of this Scorch Beast, by the way, before we move on in this video, right? Because then that would just be silly. Usually when you get enough damage on them, they fall. Come on, buddy. Look, I know, it's a sad day for you. You're getting hurt. You're getting hurt. Your friends are dead. You're not even landing. Like, you're gonna make me kill you in the air. That's your fault. All right, it's dead. Now, if I was using my vampiric gun, I just wouldn't have to have used any stim packs in that. So let me show you. Actually, this is my vampiric Gatling laser, and I just want to get my health back a little bit. You can see how my health just increased. It might actually go max. It might go max. It went max. So that's the benefit of the vampiric weapons, which is awesome. All right, let's back out of the game, and I want to show you the rest of the mutations in game, and we'll have a chat about that. Let's do it. Okay, so to wrap this video up, we are again back at Nukes and Dragons. Love this website, shows off some great stuff, helps you plan your build. And I'll go through some of the other mutations and explain why they weren't helpful for my heavy gunner power armor build specifically. So Egghead, it increases your intelligence but decreases your strength and endurance. Even when you have the perk card that reduces the negative effects, I still didn't think this was useful for me, just have an increase in intelligence, so I didn't equip that, right? I have Marsupial, I have Healing Factor. Grounded, it increases your energy resistance, but means you do less energy damage. And you can tell I use a Gatling Plasma and a Gatling Laser all the time. So why would I want a mutation that reduces the damage of those guns? So that's why I don't have Grounded. Empath, your teammates take less damage, but you take more damage. I just didn't want that, you know what I mean? Especially if, you know, I want to be as tanky as possible. I just didn't think Empath was good for me anyways. I don't have a build that's trying to help other players, as selfish as that sounds. Herbivore, I explained. Critical Eyes, your critical damage increases, you increase your perception, but your strength decreases. I don't have a VATS build. I really like strength and having a lot of carry capacity, so I didn't think Eagle Eyes was for me. Adrenal Reaction. Super important if you're using a bloodied build. It increases your damage, weapon damage when you're at low HP. So use that if you're using a bloodied weapon, you have a bunch of unyielding armor, all that kind of stuff. Speed Demon, I've explained. Talons, it's a punching attacks one. You do more damage and bleed damage if you do punching attacks. Herd Mentality, all your special stats increase by 2 when you're grouped, but they decrease by 2 when solo. Again, I want to be able to play as the same character whether I'm solo or in a team, so I didn't want to get Herd Mentality. Plague Walker, Poison Aura scaling with your diseases. I didn't want diseases, so I decided not to get Plague Walker. Unstable Isotope, I've ticked this because I have the serum for it. What it does is has a medium chance to release a radiation blast when struck in melee, but the negative is you have minor damage done to yourself during the radiation blast. I thought that this could be fun, and this could help me deal a little bit extra damage to enemies that hit me, but I'm still torn on it. I don't know. I want to watch some more videos, see other people using it to see whether it's effective. And that goes for electrically charged, which I'll get to. Now, as I talk about these, you can still see it on the screen. I'm not making that mistake twice. I have Bird Bones. Chameleon. Invisibility while unarmored and standing still. Must be unarmored and stationary for effect to work. If you have a sneak build, you know, Chameleon would be good. Scaly Skin. Increased damage and energy resistance, which I have. Twisted Muscles for a melee build. You increase your melee damage. Better chance to cripple limbs, but your gun accuracy decreases. So Twisted Muscles is purely a melee build. Carnivore, because I have Herbivore, I don't need, but if you ate a lot of meat, this is the mutation that you'd get. You get no diseases from meat and a bonus to meat when you eat it, which means that it satisfies your hunger a little bit better than not having the mutation. And electrically charged is the other one, so you have a chance to shock melee attackers, but a small amount of damage is done to you. Again, I wanted to see some videos to see whether this is actually effective. I don't know whether it is. So for now, I have the serum, but I'm not going to equip it. Alrighty, Wastelanders, we are finished with the video. Let me know what you think, and also give me your opinions about my build. Do you think it's good now that it's finally finished in the game and I showed you some of the combat? Admittedly, I didn't use a vampiric weapon too often, but the fact that I had a 2-shot that I just got, I wanted to show it off a little bit. But you saw some of the vampiric effect when I swapped to my Gatling laser. It just increases your health like insane amounts. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed me going through my mutations. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or whatever. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.